When major events happen in a lesser-known category of Minecraft speedrunning, it can often go unnoticed just by how active other categories such as 1.16 random seed glitchless can be. And when these major events go unnoticed, the word definitely needs to get spread around more than it does. Pre-1.9 random seed glitchless. Being the oldest Minecraft speedrunning category, it's noticeably grown out of popularity over time, with it by far being the least contested category, and while there's still a community, a very small one at that, there are still dedicated runners hunting down the crown, with those dedicated runners' abilities becoming very apparent in the last few weeks, with world records coming left, right and centre, and that's what I'll be breaking down in this video. This is how the pre-1.9 random seed glitchless world record was beaten not once, not twice, but 3 times over the span of just 1 week. Thank you all for the support on the last few videos, it genuinely means the world to me, and if you enjoy what you see and are new to the channel, maybe consider hopping aboard and giving me a subscribe, it would really be appreciated, and with that, let's get into the video. If you haven't seen a pre-1.9 speedrun or need a recap on its quirks that happen all throughout the run, then here I am to help. After getting basic tools as well as iron typically mined up in a cave, the runner collects food, wool, leaves and wood and goes in search for a lava pool. After entering the nether, the runner scouts out a fortress and hunts down blazes, typically aiming for 6 blaze rods, the amount needed to confirm and enter into the end with Eyes of Ender. After entering back through to the overworld, using the current meta, the runner builds a large tower, which to summarise, basically just reset spawns, hoping for Endermen to spawn, allowing for pretty fast ways to obtain pearls, without the help of trading like in 1.15 or bastions in 1.16. After locating the stronghold and entering the end, the runner does a tricky end fight, but if practiced enough, can be done extremely fast, and once the dragon is dead, the run is complete. Now that you are covered about the basics of a pre-1.9 speedrun, let's get into the analysis. Our first runner goes by the name of Infume, a very familiar face in the pre-1.9 community, being the first runner ever to break the sub-20 barrier and has been a strong contender to break Teddy Ursa's 1919, the world record prior to Infume's new world record. And with this fresh new world record, let's go in and break the run down. After loading into the world and spotting a nearby village, he ran over to it, and with a blacksmith contained in the village, he checked that first, obtaining some iron as well as food, getting basic tools, some food from a farm, and exiting out of the village. After getting some extra iron from a nearby cave, he crafted a bucket, a flint and steel, and shears. Hyreinax, why on earth would Infume need shears? Well, with beds not being in village houses from versions prior to 1.14, and runners not being able to get a good source of string from something like bastion trades, shearing sheep in the overworld is pretty much the only consistent way of obtaining beds to be able to blow up the ender dragon in the end. That's not the only use for shears though, with the runner typically obtaining a ton of blocks needed later in the run to obtain ender pearls. Leaves from trees are an easily accessible way of obtaining a ton of blocks fast with the help of shears. With all this sounding like a lot to do, with the head start Infume got from the blacksmith and village, he had everything collected up by 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and with having a lava pool right next to him, he was in the nether at 4 minutes and 3 seconds, an incredibly solid time. With some extra luck on Infume's side, he spawned only about 100 blocks away from the fortress, entering it at 4.5 minutes, finding a group of stray blazes, with one of the worst things that could possibly happen at that moment happening. Something as chaotic as dying happening is 100% a setback, and is something you would definitely try to avoid, but with the good enter and a fortress nearby the nether spawn, Infume knows that he can bounce back really fast and still have an easy world record in his hands. After entering back into the nether and retrieving his items, he proceeds on with the fortress fight, travelling around for what seems like forever, but after locating a blaze spawner, he set up camp, where over the next few minutes he would do a few things. As well as fighting off blazes and obtaining blaze rods, he's gonna mine up some gravel, hoping for flint to drop, where he can use that flint to craft arrows to help him with the wonders of the difficult pre-1.9 end fight strategies. After collecting some flint and enough blaze rods, he headed back to his portal, entering back through to the overworld, where he's gonna begin to collect some ender pearls, in a way you might have not seen before. The way runners obtain ender pearls in pre-1.9 speedruns is by waiting until dark, building a tower and setting spawn at the very top, dropping down and looking at all the endermen that have spawned, teleporting over to you, where the enderman will either drop into a hole dug by the player earlier, or kill them with a sword, with the player then killing themselves by either fall damage or lava damage and respawning back up to where the bed is located. Being up at the top of the tower, it's high enough that it will reset all mob spawns on the ground, allowing for more endermen to spawn, repeating this cycle until the runner has obtained 12 or more ender pearls. These are known as tower strats, and is what Infume is about to use to obtain all his ender pearls needed for the rest of the run. After locating a large open field in a nearby desert, Infume begins the process of building his tower, taking about a minute and 20 seconds to complete, then jumping all the way down, landing in water he prepared earlier. He then digs down roughly 45 blocks, taking him another 30 seconds to complete, and after killing himself and respawning all the way at the top of the tower, he could begin the process of collecting his ender pearls. From his first cycle, he only managed to obtain 1 enderman spawn, getting 3 from the next and only 2 from the following 2, getting 1 a cycle later and then going back to a high of 3. With the incredibly bad luck Infume has had so far, his time is already at 14 minutes, and with Teddiursa's former world record, he was already about to leave his tower at this time, so all that Infume could hope for is that he got above average enderman drops so he could leave the tower as soon as possible to still have the tiny chance of world record in his hands. He killed enderman for another 2 cycles following, and after checking his ender pearl count, he sees that he unfortunately doesn't have enough, but not to worry, because after 1 more cycle, he did happen to have enough, building up and out of the hole, leaving his tower at 15 minutes and 45 seconds, about 15 seconds slower than Teddiursa, but still fast enough for world record pace if enough luck goes in his favour. After about a minute and 15 seconds, Infume was at the chunk of the stronghold, and with Eyes of Ender in pre-1.9 pointing down to the portal room, Infume was in the stronghold at 17 minutes and 20 seconds, crafting his beds, and after filling in Eyes of Ender into the end portal frames, he was in the end at 17 minutes and 45 seconds, being on identical pace with Teddiursa's world record. With the time coming right down to the wire, Infume would have to have an extraordinarily fast end fight to clutch out the new world record. After pearling to the end island, the dragon almost instantly charged at Infume, blowing up his first bed and dealing significant damage to the dragon. And yes, end fights are far different to anything like 1.9 plus end fights. No one cycling, just charging dragons, having almost perfect timing to deal enough damage to the dragon. Only a few seconds later, the dragon charged at Infume again, getting the dragon's health down to half, and the next securing it to under half, and with the following bed getting the dragon to dangerously low health, leaving it with only 1 good bed of damage away from the dragon's death. But with it taking a while for the dragon to charge again, it had healed up enough to avoid death. With there being no time to spare if Infume wanted to obtain this record, he would need the dragon to charge once more as soon as it could, and with the luck throughout the run being pretty awful, the dragon decided to change that luck and give it all in, charging at Infume one last time, and with a last bed of damage, Infume had locked in the new world record of 9 minutes and 7 seconds. With the new world record in the community runners kept at the grind, since the low 19-minute run Infume had gotten was far from perfect, showing how close the sub-19 barrier was to being broken, and with runners taking guesses on who would be the first person to do so, runners would have to wait all but 3 days to find out. Spinnaker, maining Pre-1.9 version 1.7 in particular for well over a year now, making a name for himself in the small community, and while I don't know the most about Pre-1.9 and its top runners and world record contenders, just by seeing the long list of runs Spinnaker has, he's almost like the crooks for Pre-1.9, and after a long grind, on the 13th of April 2022, he would finally get his big chance at the crown. After spawning into a seed with the savannah, plains and desert, the ideal seed for a Pre-1.9 run, he grabs wood and heads off to a nearby surface cave. After mining up iron and coal and waiting for that to smelt down, he crafted his tools, using some shears to get wool, leaves and along the way, food. After all this, he located a lava pool and entered into the nether at 4 minutes and 40 seconds. After quickly locating a fortress, he immediately got into a sticky situation, getting knocked back far off the fortress and plummeting to the ground, very similar to what happened to Infume in his run, taking a large amount of damage, not to worry though. After recovering and travelling around the fortress and killing a few stray blazes along the way, he located the blaze spawner. After aggressively fighting through blazes, he was exiting the spawner just 90 seconds after entering, making his way back through the fortress and over to his portal, entering back through to the overworld where he's going to begin his tower. After locating some flat ground, he began building his tower sub 10 minutes, and after reaching the height he needed at 11:05, he dug a hole and was ready to gather ender pearls at 11 minutes and 50 seconds, about 15 seconds ahead of Infume. On Spinnaker's first cycle, he pulls a super solid 6 endermen, and on his following 3 cycles, he got 3 endermen, 4 endermen, followed again by 3 endermen. He proceeded to do 4 more cycles after this, jumping down and getting his items, lucky enough having all 12 ender pearls needed. Spinnaker threw his first dive ender at 15 minutes and 5 seconds, a full 40 seconds ahead of Infume, and if everything went right, he could almost guarantee world record. And after throwing a few eyes of ender, triangulating his way to the stronghold, Spinnaker was digging down at 16 minutes and 30 seconds, entering it at 16:55 and in the end at 17:20, beginning the tedious task of the Pre-1.9 end fight. His first bed does some pretty solid damage on the dragon, about quarter health, and with the second taking it to a little over half. With the dragon healing a little bit, the third took it right down to half, and the fourth under half, and the fifth taking it to dangerously low health. It would only require one last bed to take out the dragon, and with having to wait almost no time for the final dragon's charge, Spinnaker got in position, and with the final bed's explosion, the dragon was dead. Sub-19 barrier finally being broken 9 months after the sub-20 barrier was broken, it's obviously a pretty big milestone for the category. With Spinnaker's 5 sub-20s, it was bound to be a runner like Spinnaker to be the first to do it, so congrats to him on the massive new world record, but that's not it for the video. On the 14th of April 2022, not even 48 hours after Spinnaker obtained the world record and first sub-19, Speed Nintendo would get the world record of his own. After spawning in next to a lava pool and collecting wood, unlike the other runs, he went to a desert temple rather than a village or caving, with it paying off, getting an insane amount of loot.
Oh, sure. Oh, never mind. I got my iron. There we go.
After collecting a ton of wool to craft beds from the patterns in the side of the temple, which yes, in version 1.7, the patterns are created with wool rather than terracotta, he proceeded to collect wood, food and leaves, heading off to the lava pool and entering the nether sub 4 minutes. Upon entry into a fortress with 2 spawners within great proximity of each other, he spent about 90 seconds collecting his rods, as well as a load of netherrack between cycles, after travelling back to his portal and exiting the nether at a low 8 minutes. After finding 2 endermen in a cave and killing them, he unfortunately didn't get any pearls from them, but not to worry, because right after, Speed instantly began working on his tower. After finishing his tower build, he began digging his hole at an incredible 10 minutes and 40 seconds, 30 seconds ahead of Spinnaker's world record, and at this point, Speed knew he was on amazing pace, beginning his first cycle at 11 minutes and 15 seconds. His first 2 cycles didn't manage to pull any endermen, but on his third he pulled 2 and his fourth pulling 5. With getting decent enderman spawns over the next few cycles, he checked his pearl count to see he got great drop rates too, because after only 7 total cycles, he already had all the 12 pearls he needed. Leaving his tower sub 14 minutes is an absolutely insane pace, over a minute faster than Spinnaker, heading off for the stronghold. Killing spiders for string and collecting arrows from skeletons on the way to the stronghold, it took Speed a little while to arrive, but at 16 minutes and 20 seconds he was digging down, entering the end at 17:09, now only being 10 seconds faster than Spinnaker. It would require a good end fight if Speed wanted to set the next record. His first 2 beds did decent damage on the dragon, with the dragon taking damage from an end crystal explosion. It was already down at half health just 40 seconds into the fight. From Speed's third bed, the dragon was lowered to beneath half health, and with another charge, it was down to 1 last bed's worth of damage away from the record. With the time coming so extraordinarily close to the record, it was anyone's guess in the moment as to if the world record was going to be beaten, but the dragon decided to play it nice, charging in at Speed once again, and with one final bed explosion.
I got one again! I got one again! I got one again! Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god!
With the long extent of runs Speed Nintendo has, incredible completions, so many crazy run possibilities, and a super solid personal best before getting the run, he's been a super dominant player for a long while now, finally getting the record for himself after so long of grinding, and it finally paid off. Pre-1.9 is definitely an interesting category, and one I can't begin to wrap my head around, and the fact people can beat it in under 20 minutes just absolutely blows my mind, and with 3 world records in 1 week, it shows for the insane potential of the category. With the new innovations happening all the time to this slowly growing, unpopular, but super cool category, and if there is one thing I can ask you to take out of this video, is that if you can, try speedrunning Pre-1.9. Congrats to all the runners mentioned in this video for their insane skills and runs featured today, and of course the new world records they've obtained. And as well as the runners, I would of course like to thank the strategy developers for Pre-1.9, especially Chaos and SharpieMan20, coming up with all the tower strategies in particular, and plenty more that you would have seen throughout the runs. Without them, the low times we see today would never be possible. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and before I end off, I really need to thank you for all the immense support on the last 2 videos. Since my comeback, I've gained over 100 subscribers in just 2 weeks, and I really appreciate you all for that. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see all of you in the next one. Goodbye everyone. Hello everyone, Nia just set a massive new world record in Pre-1.9 as I was in the middle of editing this video. So, yeah, congrats to him, I guess.